Okay, this is a bolt extractor kit. I can't believe I never had one of these before. I had my oil pan bolt, which has an extractor on it. Some grease monkey torqued it down. I don't know how much, but I used a box end wrench to try to remove this bolt, and it would not remove it. Stripped the head with a box end wrench. So then I put a 6-point socket on it. It's still stripped. And so my options at that point was going to be to grind off this flange to try to make the head deeper, or grind 2 flats on it, or put a nut on it and plug weld the nut onto it and unscrew the nut. But I happened to get online, I found these bolt extractors. And if you can see here, they've got a sort of like a reverse drill, except the flutes or whatever are not sharp. Doesn't really cut metal. It just kind of tries to drives it down tighter onto the bolt instead of coming off of stripping. And I think they're tapered a little bit. It's hard to tell exactly how much, but it's got sort of a reverse thread, kind of tapered. But you tapped it on with a hammer, and then I actually took a ball peen and kind of tapped it around on the edges a little bit to kind of rock it down a little bit, and then did some final taps to kind of make sure it was good and square. And then I had to put it was so tight I had to put a adapter to a 1/2 inch on this, and I used a 1/2 inch breaker bar. And I don't know what the torque was, but I had to crank on the breaker bar, and then it popped loose. And once it popped loose, it was fine. But you can see what some of these threads is like. They were just trashed, but this thing worked very well. And it was about, I don't know, maybe 25 bucks, give or take, on Amazon. It's probably, I forget, it's made in China or Taiwan or somewhere, but otherwise I couldn't have afforded it, unfortunately. But chromoly steel, and it goes from 1/2 inch. I'll get this in the way. Yeah, it goes from like 1/2 inch up to 3/4 inch, and it covers 12 millimeter to 19 millimeter as well. Anyway, this was a real work saver for me. Anything else I would have done would have been a real chore, or worst case, I would have had to take the pan off. Those other options of plug welding or filing or grinding, reforming a head, that's all fine and dandy if you're standing at a workbench upright. But when you're laying on the ground under a car, all those options are terrible, because you got weld sparks or grinding sparks flying all over you, and you can't see, you can't reach anything. You're scrunched up under a car that's on jacks. This was just amazing miracle in bolt extraction. I just can't believe I haven't had one of these my whole life yet. I finally, I got this kit. This one use made the whole kit worth every penny. And by the way, these bolts, plugs, I went to the parts store. My plug had a 13 millimeter hex head on it. The identical bolt comes also 10 millimeter and 16 millimeter. So, of course, I bought the replacement bolt with a 16 millimeter head, which is going to be a lot harder to strip. That's a 14 millimeter diameter bolt. So it only kind of makes sense to me to use a 16 millimeter head, because why put a miniature head on a bolt, and it's going to tend to want to strip anyway. And this has got a gasket, the seals. You don't need to torque this down like a lug nut. Just tighten it down till it seats, and maybe turn it 1/16 of an inch or whatever, about like you would a spark plug, and you're done. It's not going anywhere. Anyway, that's the deal with these. They're awesome, and I just had to make this video here, little video. Yeah, you can kind of see how it drives in. I get to focus. Those little flutes, when you crank it, they just drive it right onto the head. And like I said, I used a 1/2-inch breaker bar, and it did not slip. It just dug in, broke it loose. No problem. I don't know what I'm doing here. I thought I ended it. Well, this is the cameraman speaking. Thank you for watching. I need a kid to show me how to use this thing.